Hi guys, welcome to part 3 of our session. In this session, we're going to talk about what you're going to do for your next steps as we move into second semester. Remember, our focus for today was, yes, it's Schoology, but really what we're looking at is that design, the user experience design process. And we talked about a design cycle, an iterative design cycle that we introduced at the beginning, where we really are going to put some emphasis on the feedback that we're getting from our stakeholders, analyzing that feedback to then iterate on our design. And so what we wanted to do now is we wanted to, as we work through that second semester to improve the user experience, we want to give you a process to help you with feedback and analysis as a part of that design cycle. So we've got a sample feedback scenario that we're going to walk through. And we want to make sure that you understand that this is not another document for you to have to fill out. This is just a process. So think of it as a metacognitive process that we're going to walk through. Ultimately, what we hope is that this becomes just kind of an organic thing that you do as a part of your planning. You know that you do a lot of this naturally, just on the go, on the fly. You introduce something that's new, first period. You find all the things that don't work and you adjust that for second period. And by third period, you've got it nailed down for you secondary folks. My poor first period kids were always my guinea pigs. And so it's about that, but in focusing on our Schoology course design is really thinking intentionally about how we've set up and how we structure our course and our lessons within there to be very, very efficient for our users. So that's what the purpose of this design cycle. So we're going to give you a process called a user feedback analysis. And the first part of that is we need to look at the feedback, both direct and indirect. We're going to look at the causes. What might be prompting that feedback from our students? We're going to identify some action items based on our initial feedback. We're going to implement, and then we're going to analyze new feedback. And if we need to, we're going to revise our action items. So let's walk through that process. So this is a document. We'll give you the template to this in the next slide. But again, I want to reinforce that this is not a document that you have to fill out every week. This could be a part, I would say, with your PLCs, is maybe you use this document to guide your discussions around some common issues that you may be having as a team. So remember, our first thing is we're going to look at the feedback, direct and indirect, that's coming in from our students. So in this particular scenario, I selected one specific problem. Students are not turning in their weekly work. That's feedback for me. They're not getting it turned in. Students are saying they have too much work due at the same time. And parents are complaining that they don't know what work is due each week. I'm a secondary teacher. Students have multiple teachers and multiple expectations and multiple assignments for every course. So this is all contributing to the problem. So this is where I start to analyze the causes and what's prompting that feedback. So first of all, they're not turning in their work. So maybe they don't know what they need to complete for my class this week. Or students are having difficulty with workload management between the classes. Remember, we talked about that scenario where all the students are having lots of things due on Friday, and they're just discovering on Thursday night that they've got assignments in every class due. They're not able to manage that workload. So there's some things that some steps I can take, some actions I can put in place to help solve those problems. So that's where I'm going to identify some action items that specifically address those causes. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a weekly overview to the top of the folder with the assignments. I'm going to have them color coded. On the assignment itself, I'm going to have the date assigned and the due date. The due date to the assignment is going to be at the top of the assignment description and on the calendar. So when I create that assignment in my text box where I would put the directions, at the very top of that assignment, I'm going to say assignment due date, and I might even make it red and bold so it stands out. So that's the first thing they see on the assignment. I might be assigning it Monday, it might be due on Wednesday. So I'm going to let them know when that due date is so they know. I'm going to make sure I'm using the same naming convention for my assignments to get students in a routine for utilizing that to help them pace themselves. So I'm going to create that assignment name. I'm going to color code it red. I'm going to bold it. It's going to say assignment 121 because that's when the assignment was given. And I put the assignment name, Civil War Cause Effect Table. And so every assignment is going to be named with that same structure so they get used to that. I'm going to implement these things, and after a few days, I'm going to analyze this. I'm going to see what's working well, what's still not working. After I do this analysis, I may decide I have to scrap my actions. They didn't work. I need to go back to the drawing board and try something new, or maybe I just need to tweak it a little bit to make it work better. So I'm going to create a revise action. And then I'm going to go through that cycle again. I have a step 2 action item here. So think about in terms of each problem, you might have multiple action items that will address the same problem. In this case, I'm also going to assign the weekly overview as a Google assignment. So they get it in their mailbox. They've got that document and they're going to use it to check off things as they turn it in. This is going to be ungraded, but I'm going to expect them to do that every week so I can track their progress as well. And as they complete that, students will earn a badge for each 2 consecutive weeks. They've completed their tracker and they're checked off their assignments. So I'm putting in a routine there. I'm building in some incentivization that I can help them start to become better time managers. And I'm giving them some tools to help them as far as tracking their work. Hopefully that will mean I will start getting more work turned in on time each week. If it doesn't, then I need to go back and add some new actions. So that's the process you can take with you. So as you go through the next semester, use that iterative design cycle as a metacognitive process. Work with your team to practice this, but eventually this should become just a natural part of what you're doing to fine-tune the design of your course.
So when we were talking about, like Tracy just mentioned, our goal for second semester courses is to be able to use the feedback we've gotten to design an effective and consistent student experience for our virtual learners. This is going to be based on the feedback that you have received. And so what themes are you seeing? And then using the Schoology instructional expectations document, which of those 4 expectations, communication, is it communication? Is it your course structure? Is it the student procedural support or the student instructional support, where you're going to end up focusing your time to just make a few small changes to improve the user experience? And remember, we're looking for small adjustments in your course and what would be your starting point. And your starting point is going to be based on the feedback that you've gotten. So if you've structured your course and students are being successful in the way that you structured this course, maybe it is just the simple adjustment of bringing the current week folder to the top so that when we get towards the end of the 9 weeks, they don't have to scroll so much. That's such a small change, but it will make a pretty big difference for our students.
Emily, I want to go back to that the very beginning of the video that we watched to tie this all together with a bow. Remember the problem that they had that was exemplified in the video was the design of the door. People wanted to pull that door instead of push the door because the handle was a signal to the users to pull to open it, but that wasn't what they needed to do. So as a part of their iterative process, they thought, okay, well, let's put a sign here that says push. Ultimately, it was a bad design. If they designed it properly, they don't need a sign there. It just becomes more intuitive. But as a part of their design cycle, they thought, okay, we've made a bad door. Let's remedy that by putting the sign so that people know to push. They still have to read it. That's a challenge, but hopefully that will decrease the amount of people that are pulling. What you're doing is you're taking the feedback from your students, from your parents. If you're getting that common feedback, there's a problem with your design. If you're having tons of kids that are having the same issues, go back to think about your design. What is it that I'm asking my students to do? What do I need to give them to make sure that they're being successful? And redesign based on that feedback.
Awesome. The template that Tracy referenced is here on this slide. It's going to force you to make a copy so that you can have your own to work through if you're want to write anything out or type anything out, if that's your processing. Our next step, we do have a variety of support that we can offer. At each of your campuses, you have awesome ICs, and then through your grade level PLCs. And some of our Singleton teachers have partners across the district that they can plan with. We also at the CNI level have our content coordinators that can offer support in your PLC planning time, your digital learning coaches, your special ed instructional coaches. If you have not visited the Schoology Help, when you're on the Schoology website, it's at the bottom right. There's a blue S, or the blue circle with the white S in it. And these Schoology Help documents are really lined out so that they give you step by step. They give you pictures. They can even show you what it looks like on different devices. So if you have a lot of students working on an iOS Apple device, they can give you pictures of screenshots of what it looks like for those students. And then last, we've referenced this a few times, the Hybrid Teacher Toolkit. This links directly to the best practices in hybrid learning environments. There are slideshows and videos on here that you can use to, even if you wanted to use some of these in your class, like how to record audio on an iPhone and save it to your drive. And then finally, this is just an informational thing for you guys. Dr. Wright wants to feature some of our updated consistent formats and procedures in Schoology in a Right This Minute. That'll be in early February. And then at the CNI level, we're also working on developing some training for teachers to administer through advisory class to be able to assist students with some of their executive functioning skills that they need to be utilizing in order to be successful in a virtual environment. You know, when we're talking about time management, ways to take advantage of the Schoology platform for student communication and self-advocacy. You know, these are things that you can incorporate into your advisory class or into your regular content class to really help scaffold these executive functioning skills for your students. Tracy, anything else that we need to mention before we sign off?
No, just remember that you're not alone. You do have supports. Please reach out. We're happy to hop on a Zoom anytime to answer quick questions or give you some just-in-time training. We're here for you. We know it's tough. We know y'all are working your tailbones off, and we appreciate it. Just make sure that if you need the help, that you're asking for it, because help is here.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Bye, guys.